I'm Leland Barclay, and we're here at the River Valley Democrat-Gazette Media Day, and I'm joined with Walter Woody and Kevin Taylor, and we're going to discuss the local conferences and also take a look at around the state and make some predictions today. First, Walter, Kevin, we're going to talk about the 7A West. Northside returns to the 7A West. What do you think about the Grizzlies returning to the conference?
Well, the first thing is it's good for Northside because they don't have to travel to Little Rock or like last year had to travel to Jonesboro for a conference game. And so the travel is going to be the big thing for them. No Friday, having to drive all day Friday to get to a football game. The question will be how well will they compete in the 7A West with the likes of Fayetteville, Bentonville West, and Rogers and so forth. They do have a pretty good shot at making the playoffs. Can they win the conference? Well, that time will tell, but they're getting better. And I think after last season, I think they're going to show a lot of improvement this year.
It's going to be really interesting, and it's going to be real weird to see Southside not in the 7A West. That's going to be really odd.
With them. Yeah.
The 7A West always starts, and it's going to be this way for a long time. It always starts with Bentonville and Fayetteville.
Right.
I think with a couple of breaks, that Northside, if McLean Moody's healthy, with that combination of Moody and Massey, I think they can sneak in and get that number 3 seed. I think that is within their grasp.
It's pretty wide open. It's you take away Bentonville and Fayetteville, and easily the 2 top dogs, and I'd go Fayetteville the top dog.
Yeah.
But after that, it's wide open. Absolutely.
I agree. They might can get there, but let's also give a little bit of credit to Rogers and Bentonville West, who've both been pretty consistent the last 3 or 4 years of finishing in that top 4.
Statewide, of course, we go to 7A Central. I think that the championship returns to the Central. The West had their shot last year, put 2 teams in the championship game, 2 tremendous quarterbacks. I think the statewide talk in 7A, it's Bryant and Conway.
Well, Conway made the semifinals last year, almost won the conference last year, beating, but fell just a little bit short to Bryant. They're losing a lot. They're going to go through a big rebuilding stage this year with only 7 or 8 starters coming back. Bryant has 14 or 15. Quad Sanders did a pretty solid job as first-year coach, though after winning 4 straight to lose in the semifinals, some would call it a down year. But I think Bryant is going to be the clear number 1 in that conference. And Cabot and Conway will probably battle for the 2nd spot.
Yeah, I'm going Bryant.
Well, and don't forget, there's this team, Pulaski Academy, that's in there too.
And Little Rock Christian.
And Little Rock Christian. But I think you're right. It starts with Bryant. I think they'll have 2 1,000-yard rushers and a 3,000-yard passer in Jordan Walker. So, Again, I think it goes back to Bryant. The 6A West now, of course, when we talk about the 6A West, we can also throw in on a statewide basis, it starts and ends with the Greenwood Bulldogs.
Yeah,
100%.
And I don't see Benton, I think, is the closest thing to number 2 overall in there. The 6A West, though, I think is going to be a free-for-all after Greenwood. There's a lot of teams. Even though Southside lost so many starters, including 10 on offense to graduation, they might could sneak in and end up the number 2 seed. But Mountain Home has done a wonderful job the last several years. Lake Hamilton's been up and down, and several others. There's a lot of teams that can certainly make a case to finish 2nd in the 6A West.
I tell you, Greenwood's been an amazing. Rick Jones forever was the man, is the man, and Rick's leaving. He retires suddenly, and they're Greenwood's going to drop down. I'm like, you know what? They didn't. They didn't drop down. They got better.
Chris Young has been there, now the head coach 4 years. He's been to 4 straight finals.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty, and with 2 championships, and with a pretty good chance to win a 3rd one.
And, of course, the 6A West welcomes in a manner of speaking, Shiloh Christian, who is always, I think they're kind of like Pulaski Academy. They have to be a consideration. But I do think also with the returning starters, that Van Buren has, that Van Buren's going to have a say in some things too. They do have to replace a very good quarterback, an MVP of the All-Star game, Bryce Perkins. But, they've got some tremendous skill guys. They've got some returning offensive linemen. They got some good guys on defense. So Van Buren is going to be, very good too. But, again, it starts and ends with Greenwood, who may not even be tested until the semifinals.
Right, and like I said, forgetting to throw in Shiloh, that just shows you how wild the West after Greenwood's going to be this year. But all of those teams that we mentioned, Shiloh, Van Buren, Southside, Mountain Home, Lake Hamilton, and even Russellville are all potential playoff teams.
The 6A West is going to be, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out every week. But there may not be any conference that week in and week out is going to be a dogfight like the 5A West, because there's not a prohibitive favorite, and there's not even I dare to pick the top 4 playoff teams right now.
Well, and last year was if there would have been a 7th or 8th or 9th conference week, the top 4 teams might have changed depending on who was playing who. Because when we went to the last week of the season, Alma could have been a 1 seed. They ended up the 4, and they had to go to. They could have easily hosted Camden Fairview instead. They had to go and play Parkview.
Alma finishes 5-2, and they're a Hail Mary away from being second place.
Yeah,
the Hail Mary against Harrison.
Yeah,
and how big was that difference?
Oh yeah, if 4th down and 13, he just throws it up and touchdown.
And the difference is
going to Parkview.
To Parkview.
Who, by the way, I saw twice last year in person, and oh my goodness, unbelievable.
They're really good, which. That is a good segue into the statewide basis.
Yeah.
It's Parkview, and now, I think we can all say it's Parkview's classification to win 3 straight.
Yeah.
Who did they play? Who did they beat in the state championship game?
Well, you could stare at Plasky Robinson, who's been pretty good the last couple of years after moving up from 4A. Harding Academy moves to 5A. And Harding Academy, say what you want to, Harding Academy was in 3A just 4 or 5 years ago, and then they moved up with the factor to 4A. They went to the finals and won a state championship. There's no reason why they can't have that success in 5A as well.
Well, and there's nothing like having a returning starter as good as Owen Miller is back too. But I think the team that is the dark horse and the team that I'm picking to play in the state championship game, I think it's going to be Maumelle.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of areas you can go in 5A because 5A is so wide open. You could pick Pine Bluff. You could pick, like I said,
Camden Fairview.
And Camden Fairview last year made a heck of a playoff run being a 4 seed, and they made a heck of a run to the finals.
Which is going to be another factor in not finishing 4th in the conference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't want to play that 1 seed. And I don't know where it matches up. Do we know where it matches up yet?
Not
We
yet.
do not know where it matches up. But, yeah, Alma, everybody knew in the 5A West you didn't want to be 4.
Yep.
You were going to have Parkview.
And that's why the 5A West this year is so wide open. Farmington, you might have said originally is prohibitive favorite. Not that I'm going to disrespect Tommy Tice, but a change in coaches is always a challenge. But yet still, Tommy Tice might have a one big season here left in him, and Farmington could make a playoff run. They have the facilities. They have some players, good players coming back. They can be dangerous. Harrison could be dangerous. Alma could be. Who knows where that conference is going?
It's crazy. They've got a lot of skill. Now the quarterback is going to be interesting. It's either going to be Michael Taylor, or it's going to be the other kid, the receiver. But they've got a lot of offensive skill power.
Yeah. We go to Class 4A, and how nice is it to have Ozark, Waldron, and Lamar, the 3 teams in the River Valley, back in the same conference.
Makes it easier, that's for sure.
Waldron's happy, I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They're getting out of the gauntlet of the 4A7. So that conference, I think, again, Boonville, or I say Ozark, is always going to be at or near the top of that conference, and Lamar as well. So that should be a really interesting conference too, because Dardanelle is going to be good too.
Yeah, but those are probably your 4 teams. They're probably going to.
It could be
before you make the playoffs.
Clinton's going to be good. Don't forget about Clinton.
I mean, it's going to be a fun, another fun conference. It may not be as wild and wacky as the 5A West, but it's going to be pretty close.
It is.
But Ozark, Jeremy Burns does such a good job. I mean, it seems like every year you look up, oh, he's got 10 wins, and they're in the quarterfinals. And and last year, if a ball bounces a different way or a bracket sets a different way, they're probably playing the semifinals instead of because you can argue they were one of the 4 or 5 best teams in 4A last year, and the thing was they were a 2 seed because Elkins had probably their greatest season ever, and probably arguably one of their greatest teams ever, and they get a bad draw, or they're probably in the finals because that game against Harding was probably the championship game.
Absolutely.
The semifinal.
Then statewide, Warren's always going to be there. Rivercrest seems to always be there.
Arkadelphia.
So, but I think it's Warren's year.
I think so too, but I think they'll play Arkadelphia in the finals because, and those two, you come out of the 4A7. You've always have a shot every year to win a state title. If you come out of that 4A7, Malvern, Arkadelphia, and police people like that.
And then we go to 3A1. How about, and just to get a kind of a test, who do you think wins the 3A1?
I'm going to go with Boonville again.
Oh, man. I love Mansfield, but they've got 21 players. And now here's the thing. They're all good. He's got 9 back on offense, 9 back on defense. Boonville, though, has got a goal. They've never had back-to-back state championships. That's something they were talking about.
Yeah. And Charleston would like to bounce back. It's kind of weird to say Charleston had a bounce-back season, but but it's mainly just a tough non-conference schedule that makes their record look 7-5. Though they were good enough to win 8 or 9 games, but when you play the gauntlet like they had at the start of the season, it's a challenge.
And they lost to a really good Bismarck team who had an unbelievable year last year in the playoffs.
But if you look at some of the magazines or whatever, 3 or 4 teams in that conference of the 4A1 or 3A1 are in the top 10 of the state. That conference, we used to think, man, it wasn't that good of a conference 8 to 10 years ago. Now there's no question it's the best conference in the state.
Absolutely.
It's a good one. And I tell you, you're right. Mansfield, this could be their year. They've got key returning guys on both sides of the ball.
And they made a nice playoff run last year, too.
They had a great playoff game, and I tell you, Coach Overton has gotten them in the weight room. So I think it's Mansfield's conference to win or lose. They have Charleston and Boonville home and away, so they split with, they get one of them at home, one of them on the road. And, statewide basis, I think you've always got to contend with Prescott.
I picked Boonville, but what really wouldn't surprise me? We end up with a perfect triangle. I mean, this is one of those years where you could easily argue that, and it could probably happen.
It could.
Prescott will be really good again, and they'll be back. I think they'll be back in the finals.
Yeah.
I think Prescott is the overall favorite to win state, but.
And then we go to 3A4. We jump to 3A4. The big question there is, can Paris make the playoffs out of the 3A4?
Sure. I mean, Paris. Just think if Paris would have been in the 3A1, we would be talking about them as being a playoff factor.
And then we jump down to 2A. Mountainburg in the 2A1. Can they make the playoffs?
Yes. It'll be a challenge, but they can find. It's you just got to negotiate your way through the conference and get 4. You got to find a way to get 4 wins. That's always a challenge.
Well, and Ryan Allen's going to be one of the best players in the area. He's exciting. He's going to be a junior, and he's great in track, basketball, baseball. He's a tremendous one, and he kind of makes them go. But they've got some other guys too that are really good.
Yeah.
It's going to be real interesting. Coach Steen done a very good job so far.
Mm-hmm.
Statewide basis. Again, I think it's Bigelow.
It's Bigelow, but I think Junction City's also going to play a role in there too. And Junction City hasn't been in the finals in several years, and they've got the athletes. And that's always a tough road trip for any team to go all the way to the Louisiana state line.
Okay, I want to thank Walter Woody and Kevin Taylor and all their expertise, and we look forward to the upcoming football season. And we've been at the River Valley Democrat-Gazette Media Day.